Hi, I'm Andrea Thompson, Editor-in-Chief at Marie Claire, and I'm so pleased to be here today to host our third Sustainability Awards. Thank you to all of you from across the world who have tuned in to watch. At Marie Claire, we've championed sustainability for 35 years. And when I took over as editor-in-chief 4 years ago this month, I was determined to keep a sense of purpose at the heart of the brand. These awards, together with our dedicated sustainability channel, are a huge part of this mission. The quality of entries this year was incredibly high, and it's been the biggest honour for me to read them, detailing your brilliant journeys. And now to shine a spotlight on those brands, big and small, who are genuinely making an effort to change their processes and make them better for people and planet. There's never been a more critical time for brands to take responsibility for their environmental impact and for consumers to take action. As we near the end of 2023 and world leaders plan to convene next week for the UN summit in New York and again at COP in November, debate will centre on our potential failure to meet the 17 Sustainable Development Goals by 2030 and the global crisis we face as a result. As more companies turn to greenwashing, it's vital that our awards continue to be rigorous and thorough and recognise those brands genuinely implementing positive change. Today, we've aimed to award companies that not only show sustainable innovation in their products and services, but also hold themselves accountable in their business operations. To help us do this, we partnered with sustainability advisory service Seismic, who work closely on our entry and judging process. We were also joined by a panel of 50 of the most high-profile sustainability experts, company founders, thought leaders, consultants, and activists in the business. During the awards show, we'll be revealing the winners in each category and highly commended where the standard was high enough. We'll also have 3 short Q&A sessions featuring guests and judges who talk about their journeys and tell us how they've balanced sustainable practices with growth. But first, I'm really pleased to kick off the awards with a very special guest. Livia Firth, MBE, is co-founder and creative director of globally renowned Eco-Age. She's also the founder of the Renaissance Awards and the Green Carpet Fashion Awards, which unites the fashion and entertainment industries to celebrate positive transformation. In addition to this, she recently presented to the EU Commission the first legislation in history for a living wage in the fashion industry. As a UN leader of change, Livia has also been recognised with the UN Fashion for Development Award and the Rainforest Alliance Award for Outstanding Achievement in Sustainability. Wow, what an incredible lineup of achievements. Welcome, Livia. Tell me about what made you so passionate about championing sustainability and using your voice to raise awareness about the climate crisis.
Thank you, Andrea. It's a complicated question with a very simple answer, which is I went to Bangladesh in 2008 on an Oxfam trip for the Circle NGO. And as I was there on the ground for a project on domestic violence, I got smuggled into a factory that was producing garments for a fast fashion brand. And what I saw took me completely by surprise because, I arrived and I thought, is this a prison? Because there was just one entrance with an armed guard at the door with a big rifle. And then I got inside and there were all these crammed rooms full of women on a production line, like taking their head down and not even being scared to look at me in the eyes. And all the windows had bars. There was no fire exit. And I was so confused. And obviously, that was the beginning, was pre-Rana Plaza collapse, all we know today about the fact that fast fashion is an industry that is fueled by slave labor. And without the exploitation of majority women, we wouldn't be able to buy clothes that are so cheap. So I think I mix also what I saw with my passion at the time for human rights, with being a feminist and wanted to make sure that there was no exploitation of other women in what I was wearing and what I was seeing. So that's how it started, and then and from there, it's been a journey of learning and discovery. But sadly, nothing has changed from that day, if not gone even worse today, with ultra fast fashion like Shein, for example.
And there's no doubt that the fashion industry has a huge environmental impact as well, doesn't it? Because of its dependency on oil and gas. And in fact, 60% of what's in the average wardrobe is, made from man-made fibers. So how do you feel we can shift that consumer behavior towards shopping more responsibly? And what can companies do in terms of their responsibility as big brands and suppliers?
One would think that, as I said before, being women are the majority of people, like demographic that buys fast fashion, and we are under a constant pressure to be seen wearing different things all the time. So there is that well-being issue, and that how do we as women reclaim our self without feeling the need of being loved just because we're wearing something new. But also, as women, I would hope that we do not want to exploit other women or be responsible for the exploitation of other women. The problem today, which is a huge problem that unfortunately I don't have an answer, is that the battle is against technology, because social media is algorithm, and you have brands like Shein, which are more of a technology company rather than a fashion company. So we are constantly lured into this world of consumerism and buying. And it's very difficult to extrapolate yourself if at the same time you are a young person who lives on social media, works on social media. So it's way more complex as an issue, consumerism, than it used to be. So I think what we need to do today is, first of all, talk about it as much as possible to make sure that people, and particularly young people and the younger generation, are aware of the fact that, as you said, you are wearing oil and you are wearing exploitation. So once you start to learn that, how do you then, change your behavior? But also we need more and more influencers to start understanding this issue, because the other problem we have today is that a lot of powerful people on social media who have a lot of followers are also the first ones who accept partnership with fast fashion brands and keep promoting and fueling this circle, which is very disturbing.
Absolutely. So COP28 is just around the corner. What are the key issues you feel should be on the agenda? And how can we make sure that young people are given a platform?
I think the most pressing issues today in fashion are two. One is the oil dependency, and that you quoted too, Andrea. The fact that we are basically wearing oil, and that cheap synthetic fibers are what fuel the fashion industry. So there couldn't be talks and discussions and actually moving towards a just phase out and transition from fossil fuel if the fashion industry doesn't align itself with that goal, because they are using oil. But secondly, also, we need to make sure that the global South is very much present, and that we all understand that this is an industry that relies on the global South producing, and then sends after it gets consumed in the global North, sends all the waste back to the global South. So we need participants from the global South also to start talking about it. We need the global North to work in partnership with countries that are production countries to make sure that things happen and supply chain are regulated in a different way. and legislators look at the supply chain in its entirety, as a cosmos that needs to be regulated urgently.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Livia, for your time. And now it's just left for me to introduce the Marie Claire Sustainability Awards 2023. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you, Livia.
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you, Marie Claire, and may the best win.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Amy. And for those of you who don't know her, Amy is the co-founder and chief impact officer at Seismic. Now, Seismic are an international team of sustainability experts on a mission to help businesses prosper by becoming a force for good, bringing together B Corp experts, net zero advisors, communications consultants, and sustainability strategists to help businesses lead the shift. Today, we're going to talk about a topic I know Amy has a wealth of knowledge on, B Corp. Amy has been instrumental in the launch and growth of the B Corp movement since 2015. Not only was she the very first B Corp consultant in the UK and has supported hundreds of companies to certify, she also co-designed the B Leaders training programs in partnership with B Lab and has trained over 360 B leaders in the UK and Europe since. Today, I'm going to be speaking to Amy about how to achieve and maintain B Corp status and how to balance growth with genuinely sustainable practice. So, Amy, while lots of our listeners may know this, start by telling us a little bit about when B Corp first came about and how you actually become a B Corp.
Thank you so much, Ali. Pleasure to be chatting to you about this today, my favorite topic of B Corp. So B Corp actually launched in 2007 in the States. It was launched by 3 business leaders who had grown and led a very successful, commercially successful business. And they'd done that in the 90s with social and environmental impact really at the heart of their business before CSR and sustainability and all of these things were kind of a thing. And they sold their business, and within a few kind of months of selling the business, the new owners had stripped out all of the social impact, all of the values, all of the great treatment of employees, etc. And as founders of this company, they hated that had happened, and they wanted to build a movement and a change in business that showed that you can have both. You can have purpose as well as profit, and actually focusing on purpose oftentimes helps you to increase your profit. And so they wanted to create a new way of doing business, which showed that yes, you can and should care about profit, but you can do that while having people and planet alongside profit in consideration with it. And it's blossomed from what was a few companies in 2007 to now over 7,000 companies globally around the world, becoming B Corps in many countries. And how you become a B Corp. So the B Corp certification journey is built around the B Impact Assessment, or the BIA. It's a free online platform that is a questionnaire that has questions across 5 different pillars. So those pillars are governance, customers, workers, community, and environment. And it measures your performance across your policies and practices in those areas. Every question is scored, and you need to get a minimum of 80 points in order to be eligible to certify. And then you need to verify your performance. It's not easy to do that. So 80 points is quite a high standard. The average score for companies when they start on their journey is 50 points. So it's very common that companies will need to work on implementing improvements before they get to the stage where they can be a B Corp, which is great because it means that it encourages companies to, first of all, understand their impact, but second of all, to improve upon it to get to a high standard of performance. And it's tough, like 52% of companies who go on that journey and submit their assessment are not successful in their first round of certification. But it is possible. We've helped many of our clients to get there, and actually 100% of them have done it on the first attempt. So it is possible. It just takes a lot of attention and effort.
So much that I could unpack there, but I want to really drill down into what it actually means to be a B Corp. I know we've got so many sustainable businesses tuned in, and I'm sure they might be wondering why it's so important, if you're a sustainable business, to be a B Corp, to certify. And I know you're a wealth of knowledge on that. So yeah, tell us more.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting one on like why it's important if you're a sustainable business. I think if you are already a sustainable business, and actually what does that mean? None of us are fully sustainable, but if you're a business that's already embracing sustainability and has a lot of performance, strong performance in that area, then B Corp is a way for you to articulate who you are and what you're doing. It's a way for you to kind of verify that you are meeting these high standards. And it's also a way for you to kind of like find your people. It's a beautiful kind of community to be a part of. And so it really kind of pulls you in with other like-minded businesses where you can collaborate and learn from each other. But the thing that to be really clear on is that B Corp isn't just for businesses that are already doing well, or sustainable businesses. So you've got the kind of obvious choices like the Innocents and the Patagonias out there, but also there's a lot of companies who are not yet doing well in this area and who recognize that they want to do better and they need to do better, but it's really hard to know what that means, where to start. It's quite daunting. And so being a B Corp or going on the B Corp journey is really helpful for those companies who might not identify as being sustainable or being impactful, because it helps them to make sense of it. It helps them to understand, where are we now? What are we doing well in? What do we need to be doing better in? And how can we go on that journey? So it helps you to really kind of get a framework and an understanding and accountability for performing and improving your impact.
When we spoke prior to this call, you kind of explained it in that way to me, and I've heard it before, but I think it finally suddenly clicked that, B Corp is more than just a certification. It's that framework for businesses to know where they can improve their sustainability credentials. And I thought that was really interesting, and it's such a large part of what being a B Corp is. So why do you think that can be so helpful and is so important for both the kind of bigger businesses like you spoke about, but also smaller scale companies?
Yeah, like I said, it just can provide that framework. Also, it tailors, the assessment is tailored to companies based on their size and sector. So size by number of employees, and sector based on, are you a manufacturer or are you a service-based industry, etc. And so it's really helpful from that point of view to give you that kind of tailored support. It's also really helpful because it puts you in touch with a set of kind of resources and like-minded businesses. But as you say, if you want to certify, that's great. And we definitely encourage companies to certify, but you don't have to certify. You can still just use that tool, use the B Impact assessment as something to kind of spark engagement internally. A lot of our clients use the B Impact assessment to kind of inform their overall sustainability strategies and set their goals internally. But if you do become a B Corp, or if you're just performing well from a sustainability point of view and an ESG point of view, there's so many benefits apart from obviously just doing the right thing and becoming a better business. But, it helps you to attract employees, and not just employees, but actually there's stats to show that it helps you attract a better quality of employees who stick around and are more invested in your business. It also helps you to attract investors. So if you're looking to grow as an organization or attract investors, it helps you to attract more investors, but also those who are kind of more aligned with your values and who you are and how you want to grow as an organization. We all know that it resonates with customers. So, 76% of people think that business has a responsibility to people and planet, and that helps to prove that you're doing that. And also we see that B Corps and companies with strong ESG strategies grow a lot faster, both from an employee headcount point of view and from a revenue point of view than companies who aren't engaging with that. So there's a lot of benefits and a lot of reasons why, it just makes sense to engage in this whole process and world.
Those stats are so fascinating, and it does make sense, actually, if you're investing in your business and making sure that your framework is truly sustainable. I can see how it would benefit all other aspects of your business. Now, the question everyone wants to know the answer to: how do you stay a B Corp after you've certified? Many certify. There are over 1,500 certified B Corps in the UK alone, but many may find it difficult to balance kind of growth and truly sustainable practice. So do you have any tips?
Mm-hmm. It's such a good point. It's a really important thing for companies to consider and bear in mind. I think quite often people get really, which I totally understand why, they get really caught up in certification and getting to that goal of certifying. But that is only the beginning of the journey, even though it might feel like the end, and it feels like a huge thing. It is a big milestone, but it's only the start. And, becoming a B Corp is about something that should be a kind of permanent way of how you behave and how you do business. And that takes a lot of energy and effort to maintain. So it's really about, it's really just about embedding it into the business. And that starts with engaging all of your stakeholders in the journey, not just having either B Corp or sustainability be something that sits with one or two people or one team. It can't just be something that's in a silo. It's got to be something that, yes, maybe there's a team or a project manager that oversees it, but it falls into the business as a whole. So instead of your sustainability strategy only, why not build it into your corporate strategy? Instead of it just falling to your sustainability lead or somebody like that, have there be sustainability KPIs built into every person's role, from HR to supply chain, etc. And really kind of make it fun. I think that some of our clients do this really well. Innocent Drinks is one of our longest standing clients, and they have what they call beekeepers, who are their internal champions, and they build it into everybody's company bonus. So it's built into their company scorecard, which means that whether you're the most senior or the most junior person in the team, your bonus is linked to that. And we've helped them build fun tools like an office promise, which means that wherever you're located in the world, or whatever your role is, there's something that will resonate with you and your role. So I think just not seeing it as a separate task, getting everyone involved and making it fun, and reaching out to the community. Like I said, there's so many, wonderful B Corps, and you mentioned, 1,500 here in the UK. The UK is actually the fastest growing B Corp community in the world, which is really cool. And there's so many fun ways that you can get involved. There's practical, useful, educational things like working groups and workshops. And then there's also fun stuff like bee socials, where you can just come together with other like-minded people, have a drink, have a chat. Lots of collaboration opportunities. So just dig in, get involved, have fun.
Thank you so much for that, Amy. I feel like I learned so much, and it was a pleasure to chat with you today.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Hi, I'm delighted to be joined by Amy Nelson-Bennett, co-CEO at Positive Luxury, and we're going to be talking about how luxury and sustainability interact and the future of luxury and sustainability together. Hi, Amy. Thanks for joining us.
A pleasure. Thanks for making the time to speak with me.
So we're going to dive straight in. I'm going to be talking about supply chains and how complex it is to make our supply chains in luxury fashion more sustainable and more transparent. Where do you guys come and help with people wanting to make their supply chains more sustainable?
Sure. I mean, this isn't a quick or simple task. Particularly, we've got very, very large businesses with thousands of suppliers, but they need to understand in greater detail. And we have also a lot of micro and small businesses who've got very little influence over their suppliers. So we work with businesses to help them, embed sustainable mindsets and sustainable practices into all the different areas of their business that would affect their supply chain. So whether it's their creative teams, their product developers, the people who are managing procurement. A lot of our businesses have got vertical supply chains. Some of the manufacturing is within their own organization. And we help them select or transition their supply chain to work with those people that share their values and over time are comfortable looking out into their own supply chains to help provide that transparency. And that's really about helping businesses establish codes of conduct that reflect their values and their ethics and their standards as a luxury house, and developing, getting rid of the old customer supplier relationship, and particularly with their tier one primary suppliers, really trying to establish long-term partnerships that help the brand and the supplier adapt and become a stronger business by working together.
I imagine this is part of the biggest challenge for moving luxury fashion as a whole over to net zero by 2050, which I think is the industry goal. I imagine this is the big bit of work.
We like to focus on 2030 and be ambitious.
2030 even better.
Yeah, I mean, it's fashion has many issues and a lot of global goals around whether it's greenhouse gases, whether it's protecting nature, whether it's waste. There's a lot of reasons for fashion to be looking at all these sort of different corners of sustainability, as well as the huge number of social issues that exist out in fashion supply chain. So it's a big job for them, but we are encountering an increasing number of businesses with really strong leadership, which is where it starts. Yeah. And strong leadership means doing more than just talking about it, but really setting their organization up to start making those changes. It also takes patience. These sorts of changes in fashion houses, they take time to make. People are manufacturing processes over very long lead times. As businesses, we really have to learn, as consumers in particular, to value real progress over perfection, and understand that it's difficult work, and that's what's worth respecting in a fashion house, rather than quick and easy wins. And it's
sometimes the quick and easy wins aren't actually the right wins in the first place. It takes a long time to.
We work with houses, and we come in and go, there's some things you can do that are what we would call the low-hanging fruit. Those things do exist, but if you are talking about re-engineering your value chain, actually reshaping your business model in many ways, we can't expect businesses to do that in a quarter, in a half year, in a year. These are long-term commitments that businesses need to do over time and balance against a series of priorities. As long as it's in maybe the top, I'm really happy when sustainability is in a business's top 3 priorities. If it's top 5, I'll still be satisfied. As soon as it slips beneath that, then I think it's a business with a lot of short-term pressure on it that's going to be problematic in midterm.
And you mentioned consumers there a minute ago, and obviously you guys have the butterfly mark, which is how consumers can help tell, a more sustainable business from one that is less sustainable. But how easy is it for consumers to really avoid greenwashing in the luxury fashion sector? Because obviously this is a problem throughout many industries.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, luxury fashion, or pretty much any luxury good, it should be a considered purchase. So people should do their research. And the one thing I would say to people is make sure that when you're looking at a brand, the brand is leading with science. And by that, I mean clear, accurate evidence. Look for data. And if it's not there and a brand is making claims, you should be cautious. We've just published a green claims toolkit for our community that helps them outline best practice. We have so many brands that are doing great things, but are not confident of how to articulate that. They don't want to overclaim. And so we're trying to help them understand how to, if you're going to commit to being evidence-based and transparent, how do they do that, and what should consumers be looking for? And they've got a backup. So the butterfly mark is fantastic. It's a gateway. If a brand's carrying it, you should trust these brands, but you should be looking further behind any certification for data. And a brand should be making credible claims backed up by up-to-date evidence. It should be clear and specific to the entire product, not one element, one component, one material. If a brand is making really general, we're eco-friendly, question whether that is related to the entire life cycle of a product or one small aspect of it. And be really cautious of any messaging that you feel is encouraging overconsumption. If you're buying a luxury product, it should be about longevity and quality and respect for the craftsmanship and the process that went into the making of that product.
Definitely. And I know, we have some of the strongest guidelines now with the Green Claims Code for consumers. So it's definitely worth being on top of that. And it's actually a really nice sort of segue into the next question, which is sort of, we've got luxury fashion on one side, we've got fast fashion on the other. Mm-hmm. Is the luxury fashion and that more considered purchasing, is that a natural antidote to the sort of the boom in fast fashion? Or, I mean, obviously the luxury sector is growing, I think 6% a year. Is that growth sort of undoing something more considered purchasing?
Is growth being driven by volume or value? That would be, I guess the first more sort of commercially oriented question, particularly in the current climate of inflation. A lot of growth at the moment is being driven by value rather than volume. But generally, we believe that our position is that luxury as an industry should lead. And it's one of the reasons we founded Positive Luxury with that specific focus, because we believe the industry could become Positive Luxury. Yes, it's our company name, but by that we mean a new kind of luxury that respects and upholds all the really laudable traditional values of luxury that are about craftsmanship and design and creativity and quality and durability and beautiful materials and service, all those sort of things, and couples that in today's world, given the concerns we need to address, with a really sort of authentic and deep commitment to and care for people and nature, and gets rid of the opulence and wasteful image that developed over the last few decades. And those combined values put luxury in a really enviable position to lead the fashion industry as a whole towards a better future for nature, including the people that live within that. So it's a really interesting opportunity for luxury. I think we believe luxury should be leading for lots of different reasons, but they've got a more natural position to do that.
Absolutely. As you said, that a lot of the things you just sort of listed off are actually the things that you look for in an ethical brand anyway, that kind of craftsmanship and longevity. So that does seem like a natural fit. And do you think is there more innovation coming through at the luxury level in terms of sort of bio-based materials and reusing dead stock and things like that?
I think that the two things we're seeing that are probably quite specific to fashion are, yes, some very interesting, innovative materials coming through, particularly from interesting small niche businesses. A lot of the innovation is happening in that space, and some of that's being supported by very large groups or organizations. They just need support reaching scale. and we need to educate consumers that some of these new materials are actually, in many ways, there's lots of different reasons for them to be preferable. The lesser impact being the first one. We see lots of people also really starting to work in fashion at different paces, but people are understanding, I think, more fully what circularity means, and the steps they can take over time in terms of everything from the types of materials they choose. How do you minimize waste and offcuts and all these different things? How are you supporting crafts and things, particularly for some of our fashion businesses that are quite niche skill sets that could disappear, but how do you preserve those to maintain an edge? We're seeing a lot of things, and then, going out the back and people trying to support more repair, resale, and ultimately just build products with a greater degree of longevity and durability in them. And we are seeing businesses, moving in that direction at different paces. They're under huge pressure from, quarterly results are still driving a huge amount of the decision making in these organizations. But it's shifting. Every 6 months I look back and go, wow, it's a lot different than it was. So the pace of change is accelerating, which is hugely encouraging.
It is, and it does feel like there's a lot of positivity in the sector. And thank you. That's just a very quick, overview of some really, really big, meaty issues in the luxury sector. Thank you so much for giving us your insight and only just touching, I think, on some of those big questions.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's the good news for everybody is that things are changing for the better. I'd always like them to happen faster, but they are. So thanks for the opportunity, I guess, to deliver good news rather than just doom and gloom news.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks, Amy, and thanks, Marie Claire.
Thanks, Georgina.